Please rise as you are able for the reading of the Holy Gospel. Holy Gospel according to Matthew. He left that place and entered their synagogue. A man was there with a withered hand, and they asked him, "Is it lawful to cure on the Sabbath?" so that they might accuse him. He said to them, "Suppose one of you has only one sheep and it falls into a pit on the Sabbath. Will you not lay hold of it and lift it out? How much more valuable is a human being than a sheep? So it is lawful to do good on the Sabbath." Then he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and it was restored, sound as the other. But the Pharisees went out and conspired against him, how to destroy him. The Gospel of the Lord. You may be seated. Wow, we've been talking about hands a lot for 2 days. We just knew we would have a lot of fun with this theme. And look at your own hand for a moment. This is an amazing mechanical and engineering miracle. If you're sitting next to someone close by, take them by the hand and look at their hand for a moment. See enough of your own. The hand has 27 bones. This hand has 27 bones. The metacarpals are the long bones that connect the wrist with the fingers and the phalanges. Is that how you say it, bones? These bones are the ones that make it able for us to grasp even the tiniest things. Fingers also, the tips of the fingers are some of the densest nerve endings in your whole body, right at the tips of your fingers. And it's the richest place for tactile feedback. They also have, our hands, the greatest positioning capacity of the body. So, how appropriate for the ELCA to choose this wonderful phrase to describe our life together. God's work, our hands. We're only now beginning to really enjoy that motto. But imagine now losing the use of your hand. Especially if you're right-handed, the right hand, or if you're left-handed, the left hand. Think of all the things that you are not able to do with that hand anymore, or may have to learn how to do with your other hand all over again in a new way. Writing, shaving, driving a car, washing dishes, picking up the baby, carrying heavy loads, clapping in appreciation at a concert. You can do it in sign like that. Massaging another's aches away. Last week, the Philadelphia Inquirer had a very delightful article about an 8-year-old boy named Steve who was born without a left hand. Apparently, it did not hold him back in any obvious way. He plays lacrosse, he swims, he skis, he loves to bounce on his friend's trampoline. But the story was about a group of high school students at the Westtown School in Chester County who got a bionic boost. The engineering and design class designed a bionic hand for Steve. And they made it so that it could actually grip a lacrosse stick or a ski pole. The prototype is white, but it can be made in any color. So when they asked Steve what color he wanted, he said Superman colors. So they painted a Superman logo on his hand, and Alex Nunez, one of the students, said, "We figured after that we're going to have to make them for all his friends." There are many, many instances in Scripture in which and especially in the Gospel of Matthew, where Jesus uses his hands to heal and touch another. He heals Peter's mother-in-law with a touch of his hand in chapter 8. The leper who is asked to be made clean by Jesus' touch in chapter 8. The little girl on her deathbed is roused to life when Jesus touches her and takes her by the hand in chapter 9. And then there's this story, the story of the man with a withered hand. You may not be as familiar with this story as with other healing stories because it's not in our lectionary cycle. So it's not one of those texts that many of us have preached on, or probably you've heard or discussed in a sermon. But when we think of this motto, God's work, our hands, this text shifts our perspective and gives us some interesting insights, new insights maybe, into what this phrase might mean. Just prior to this incident, Jesus' disciples used their hands to pick grain because they're hungry, and the religious leaders are accusing them of breaking the law because they've done this on the Sabbath, violating the law from doing any work on the Sabbath. Jesus, of course, outsmarts their arguments through his detailed understanding of both the religious law and Jewish history. Not wanting to lose face, they back off, and they're determined, though, to back Jesus into a corner. They think they have him right where they want him when he shows up later at the synagogue, and they grab a man with a withered hand and they shove him right in front of Jesus, and they say, "Is it lawful to cure on the Sabbath?" Now, this is a trick. If he heals the man, they will catch him again breaking the law on the Sabbath. But if he doesn't heal, then he'll appear heartless and powerless before the gathered crowd. Either way, the Pharisees feel we've got him this time. So Jesus says, "Okay, bring it on." Well, he doesn't really talk that way. But I think he was thinking it. Okay, bring it on. But first he says, what? Stretch out your hand. In front of everybody. Stretch out your hand. We don't know why the man's hand was deformed. Maybe it was a congenital condition that happened before he was born. Maybe it was an accident where he lost the use of his hand and it never healed properly. Whatever it was, this man's hand did not function the way it was, and he was not able to support his family. It was not just an inconvenience. It had changed his whole relationship to the culture, and he was not able to work. But I think that what we're learning in this passage is that Jesus is bringing this whole situation out into the open. Stretch it out, he says. Let's see how bad it is. It's as if Jesus is saying to the man and to the crowd, hey, let's be honest about our withered hands. Let's be honest about the things that do not function well. Let's be honest about the things in our lives that have been crushed or kept from growing. What is your withered hand? I know a woman whose heart was withered from resentment because she felt that her sister did not help enough with the care of her dying mother. Can you relate to that? Some of us can. In order to heal her spirit and to find joy in life again, she sought out spiritual guidance to address her resentment. Because until she did, she would not have a new relationship with her sister. She needed prayer and spiritual help to establish a new way, a new journey with her sister. What's your withered heart? What's withering in your heart? But this story in Matthew, I don't think is just about individual healing. The fact that Jesus brought this man's condition out in the open means that he's challenging the community to ask, what's also withered in our society? What is not functioning the way God intended? How are the hands and the hearts of our community suffering from harm, choked off from the rest of the body? Who and what needs to be restored? this week alone, a witheringly racist conversation by the owner of an NBA team, caught on tape, captured the attention of our nation. But really, were you really surprised? Would it really be hard for you to identify the places and people in your community that are being demonized or cut off or crushed in one way or another? Would you be so hard to figure out where those places are? A large part of our labor force is hiding in the shadows and withering in fear, waiting for our broken immigration system to be fixed. 12 million undocumented. The prison population of this country is a scandal across the whole world, and cut off from the possibility of redemption or restitution ever, even when released. The life after prison and after incarceration is poverty and marginalization. So there's really no way to pay your debt. That's another 7 million and counting. More? I could go on. What about the disabled veterans cut off from mental health and employment opportunities? 3.5 million. What about our public schools? How many of our children are withering from inadequate education and safety? That we wouldn't even be able to begin to count when you think of all the schools all across the country. So when Jesus healed the man with the withered hand, the authorities tried to trick him and trap him, daring him to heal the man and stand up to the iron grip they thought they had on God's grace. In the same way, the impervious powers of today say to the church, we dare you to heal. We dare you to stand up to us. We dare you to bring the healing power of Christ to the world. We dare you to honor the personhood and rights of immigrants. We dare you to try to have church out in the open and assist with the quality of life with those living with homelessness. We dare you to bring the oppression and the racism of the Christian criminal justice system out in the open. We dare you to stand up for our schools and champion wounded soldiers. We don't have to do, none of us can do everything, but each of us can do something. Pick one. Yes, the authorities will be angry when we do this work. They will plot against us. They will pass ordinances against us to discourage us, or they will drag their feet, or they will suspend Congress, or they'll take a break, or they'll say, we'll do it next year after the election. Then we'll start talking about it again. They will resist our efforts to advocate for the withered hands of our society. But this is God's work. This is God's work, strengthening our hands and our resolve, linking our hands to one another. Ecclesiastes 4 is true for today as it was yesterday. Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. You know this one. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. That's what it means when we do this together, when we join our palms and our hands and our resolve and interlocked our fingers for the lifting up of others, for bringing justice, peace, and God's agape love to the world. And God's work is to take our hands and heal our hearts, even when we are worn and tired and weak, because we too are very, very loved. And when we are healed in gratitude, God knows, we turn in our strength and in our gratitude to heal others. This morning, I invite you to linger a bit, to pray, to meditate, to sing, or to walk to one of the healing stations. Our worship leaders will be giving direction as we have the opportunity to bless and heal one another. the laying on of hands and of prayer.
Take my hand to the light, precious Lord.